I'm Emma, standing in the middle of an elegant restaurant. The air is thick with tension as my uncle's words hang heavy over the table. The room has gone deathly silent, and all eyes are on my sister. Her face is white as a sheet. It's a moment I'll never forget, a turning point in our family that I never could have anticipated. A few days earlier, I received a warm invitation from my uncle for a family vacation at a luxurious beach resort. He's the wealthy one in the family, always trying to bring everyone together, even though our relationships have been strained for years. My mother is cold and calculating, and my sister is a shallow social climber. They've always looked down on me because I chose a simple life as a freelance writer, far away from the glitz and glamour they crave. 2 days before the trip, my mother texted me all the details, flight information, the resort address, and a reminder about Thanksgiving dinner. But when I checked the room list, something felt wrong. There were rooms booked for my uncle, my mother, and my sister with her husband, but none for me. I texted my mother about it, and her vague reply made my stomach sink. She said the hotel was still sorting out a few details and told me to just come. I tried to convince myself it was all a misunderstanding. After all, my uncle was paying for the trip. Surely he wouldn't leave me out on purpose. So I packed my old battered suitcase and boarded the flight from Seattle. The moment I stepped into the hotel lobby, I knew something was wrong. The front desk clerk looked flustered, avoiding eye contact while clicking nervously at her keyboard. My mother stood nearby pretending to admire the ocean view, while my sister walked over from the bar with a smug smile on her face. "You didn't book a room for me?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My sister laughed, a cold, cruel sound. "Yeah, we didn't. A failure like you doesn't deserve to travel with this family. No room, no seat at dinner, nothing." The words stung, but I refused to let them see me break. I looked at my mother, hoping for some kind of support, but she simply stared back at me with a blank expression. That's when I realized this wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate humiliation. "Then I'll leave," I said calmly, picking up my suitcase. For a brief moment, my sister's smile faded, as if she couldn't believe I was walking away so easily. The lobby fell silent as I turned and walked out into the warm California sun. I sat on a bench outside the hotel, waiting for a ride back to the airport. Holiday flights were expensive, but I didn't care. I just wanted to escape my toxic family. As I watched happy families arriving at the resort, a strange sense of clarity washed over me. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their money. I was better off on my own. Then my phone rang. It was my uncle. His voice was calm, but beneath it I could hear anger simmering. "Where are you?" he asked. "I'm outside, heading back to the airport," I replied. "Stay where you are," he said. I saw what happened. A few minutes later, my uncle appeared, looking as elegant as ever in his tailored suit. He sat beside me and listened carefully as I explained everything. When I finished, he stared out at the road for a long moment before speaking. People who build their lives on borrowed money and false pride always crumble in the face of someone with true dignity. Then he pulled out his phone and made a couple of calls. First, he booked me a room at the resort. Then he invited me to Thanksgiving dinner the next evening. I told him I didn't want any trouble, but he simply smiled. "Neither do I," he said. "But they need to learn a lesson." That evening, after checking into my room, my phone exploded with calls and angry texts from my mother and sister. They accused me of making a big deal out of nothing. I ignored them and turned my phone off. The next night, Thanksgiving dinner was held in a private dining room overlooking the ocean. Fine china and crystal glasses decorated the table, but the atmosphere was tense. My sister and her husband arrived looking nervous, while my mother greeted me with a cold nod. As dinner began, the conversation felt forced. My sister kept making snide remarks, and my mother tried steering the discussion toward shallow, meaningless topics. But after the main course, my uncle stood up. "I've supported this family for a long time," he said calmly but firmly. "I believed in keeping us together. But what I saw in that hotel lobby was unacceptable." He looked around the table. "I paid for this trip because I thought we owed each other basic decency. Instead, One member of this family was humiliated in public. Then he looked directly at my sister. You were not joking. You were using your status to hurt someone. The room went completely silent. And from now on, he continued, all financial support I've been providing to this family will stop. No more monthly transfers. No more tuition payments. No more housing assistance. My sister's face turned pale. Her husband looked completely stunned. My mother tried to interrupt, but my uncle cut her off immediately. This is not a misunderstanding, he said. This is the truth. You've all been living beyond your means, relying on my money to maintain a false sense of superiority. Then he turned toward me. The person you've been looking down on is the one with real strength and dignity. My sister burst into tears, but they weren't tears of regret. They were tears of panic. Her husband sat speechless, realizing everything was about to change. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt peaceful. I wasn't the one who needed to answer for my actions. Over the following weeks, the consequences became impossible to ignore. My sister and her husband fell into financial trouble, and my mother was forced to downsize her lifestyle. They started calling me constantly, begging me to speak to my uncle for them. But I refused. I had finally broken free from their toxic influence. Instead, I focused on my work. I signed a long-term contract with a new client, and for the first time, my income became stable. I was building a life that truly belonged to me, a life built on hard work, honesty, and dignity. Eventually, my sister sent me a text apologizing for everything she had done. I read the message and simply replied, I know, not because I had forgiven her easily, but because I no longer needed her apology to validate my worth. Looking back, I realized the entire experience was a blessing in disguise. It taught me that true success isn't measured by money or status. It's measured by the ability to stand on your own 2 feet and live with dignity. And as for my family, they're slowly learning the same lesson. Maybe one day we'll build a healthier relationship. But for now, I'm content with the life I've created for myself. My old suitcase still sits in the corner of my closet, a reminder of the journey I survived and the strength I discovered within myself.